Hey guys, how's it going? We're in Mindset Matters, episode 8, I think it is. I know it's been a long time since we've done one. Yeah, just sorry about that. I don't really have any excuses. I guess life just kind of happened. As you can see, we no longer have Robbie with us. This is my beautiful, amazing wife, Sebastianna, and she's going to be doing Mindset Matters with us from now on. And we're so excited to have her. She has a great perspective on things, and I think she'll really bring a great perspective into the podcast, and it'll help. I think people will be able to understand her way of interpreting things better than they can of mine. She's kind of a really down to earth person. So what we're gonna start doing with the podcast now is we're going to start following a book called The 4 Agreements. I don't know if anybody's read it, but I do suggest you guys get the book or get the audio book. That's what we have, is we listen to the audio, and it's a great book. So we're going to start following that agreement by agreement. Today we're going to do agreement number 1, which is be impeccable with your word. And we'll kind of give our interpretations on it, read some excerpts from the book. I'm going to let Sebastianna give a little bit of a introduction on herself, and then she's going to go ahead and kick us off and get us started on the topic. So I'm excited.
Hi guys, I'm Sebastianna. I don't really know an introduction to say about myself. I'm his wife.
Alright, yeah,
Okay.
She's going to get going.
Alright, so the first agreement is being impeccable with your word. So kind of how it starts out is that we've been molded by society, by our families and our friends, and of how we should behave and how we should act, and kind of like the way that they've trained us and what society seems fit. And we've agreed to these terms. So the way that they see beauty or being proper, or anything that you may think is wrong or right, like we've agreed to them growing up, and so we now see things this way. And even a toddler, we are conditioned to follow all these rules. But when you see a stubborn toddler about them saying no, it's because we're resisting, because that's not what we are. We say no because we want to do something, because that's what we want to do. We're obviously rebelling against the rules at first. So even when our parents try to teach us things, now we trust them, whether it's true or not, because we have been trained to. We take that as truth, like within us. And it kind of hits home a lot for me, because growing up I was bullied a lot, and I was told what the aspect of being beautiful was, and I did not fit in that. And so I was growing up very insecure about myself. And then when you realize that because society says that beauty has to be a certain way and that it doesn't, you have to rewire your brain in a sense, and like unbrainwash yourself to be able to say that that's not true just because that's what somebody says about you.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be, like it says, impeccable with your word, is because what you say, whether you think it is or not, affects somebody else, right?
It does, definitely, absolutely. Sorry, this is my first episode, so I'm kind of like scatterbrained.
No, it's all right. I have a little bit. It's great.
All right, so another thing is that when we're being trained, we're punished and shamed for the bad behavior and rewarded for the good. And along with being rewarded with good behavior comes attention, like, oh, good job, or you're so amazing, that's awesome, or and then growing up even into adulthood, we seek that reward, that attention from everyone, even if it's something that isn't like what we are. We will start pretending and become someone else that's not our true selves to be able to impress other people. And I think that's a lot of the issue that everybody has been dealing with growing up.
Everybody's been trained. People have different beliefs about different things.
Right.
But everybody's been taught by what their parents say, what their friends say, just even strangers in passing, when they said it to you at like a vulnerable time. They say things to you, and people say like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But really, words are the most effective. It can either build you a paradise or it can make you in a living hell.
Your biggest weapon.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to be very careful in what you say and also what you receive. Analyze everything. Analyze the beliefs that you have held on to so dear. Like, there's a story about a woman, and she would always cut both ends off of her ham before putting it in the pan and putting it in the oven. And her daughter one day was like, "Mom, like why do you do that? Why do you cut both ends off?" And she said, "I don't know. It's what my mom did." And so she got kind of curious, and she called her mom, and she's like, "Mom, why did you cut both ends off of the ham before putting it in the oven?" And she just said, "Oh, honey," started laughing. She's like, "My pan wasn't big enough to fit the whole thing."
Oh, that's
and so she had grown up thinking that this was that was the way to do it. Yeah, when really it was just something because somebody that she looked up to did it. She absorbed that into herself, and so all of your beliefs aren't really yours. They've been given to you by somebody else.
And people don't realize how much it really affects you. Even in adulthood, it's still, to this day, you can, because someone can say something about you or teach you something, and you're still so vulnerable that you automatically believe it when someone tells you that you're not good enough, or that, you can't do that, that's too risky, or you need to live a non-extravagant life because you're never going to be able to have those things. And
exactly.
you believe them because fear it's the easiest seed to plant in your brain. You just accept it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's one thing, especially with yourself going into it. What you say to yourself is such a big deal too. You are your biggest judge. So if you tell yourself every day, you're not good enough, you can't do that, your mind, it's going to agree with you. It's going to say, you're right, you're not.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's where being impeccable with your word even comes in, because being impeccable, it means without sin. And the biggest sin is doing something that goes against yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all sin is, really, if you kind of really look deep down into the interpretation of sin, and we can get into that on a later date, but yeah, absolutely. And that actually reminded me of something. We have to be, I was listening to a book, I'm trying to think of what it was. It was a Neville Goddard, The Immortal Man is what it was. I was listening to that, and they have one called, I'm trying to remember. Can't remember what the chapter was called. I'll have to look it up again and let you guys know, but I'll post it on Mindset Matters. But it talks about how you can't stop conversation with yourself. You're always having an inner conversation, and you have to monitor. It's called mental diets. That's what it's called. So you have to monitor. You have to go on a mental diet. You have to monitor what's going into your head, because you have to agree with something before your subconscious will accept it, and that's what creates your life, right? Your subconscious is what creates everything. It's your actual self. It's your belief systems and everything like that. It's all the idle thoughts that go on all day. So we have to learn to monitor those, and basically be careful with what we're thinking, and just be very, very cautious with the mental conversations we have with ourselves. Because if we're telling ourselves negative things, because we're telling ourselves that, we hold ourselves to the highest authority, whether or not we consciously know that. When you tell yourself something, you instantly believe it. So you have to be able to tell yourself good things. You have to be careful with what you're telling yourself on the inside, because that's what's going to be on your outside. And that kind of reminded me of when you were talking about you have your thinking on the inside. And
that also goes on with what you say to other people as well, and how strong it is. There was a point in the book where he said, if you say to someone, "Oh, your skin is the color of someone who usually ends up having skin cancer," you will believe that's so true that within the next year you will end up having skin cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
Because subconsciously you're like I have it, like I'm predisposed to it,
Yeah, the doctor told me that my skin color is somebody who has skin cancer. Is what it looks like. Yeah, that could just be your skin color, but because the doctor is somebody that you believe, or even just you're in a vulnerable state, you maybe didn't feel good, and so you're like, oh shoot, and you just accepted that immediately. Whether or not you know it, you could not have cancer, but yeah, within the year, and that's what it says in the book, that person will have that cancer that they assumed on themselves.
And I know that no one would ever, when you're mad, you say things that you don't mean, but it's so important not to say the things that you don't mean. A saying that I'd like to say a lot, that my uncle Jason actually told me was that to say what you mean and mean what you say, because you cannot take it back. And if you say something hurtful to someone else, they're gonna believe it, and you can't take it back. Even if you say it's like, oh well, it's not my fault, she believes it. If someone were to say that to you, subconsciously you're just gonna keep hearing that in your mind over and over and over again, and so you believe it and you agree to those terms.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think what I had on here. Sorry, I'm looking at notes. I don't know if you guys can see my computer. I'm not just staring down. I'm trying to. It gets kind of. You go off on a tangent, then you have to come and find your way back, right? So that's what we have notes for. So let's see. Oh, and yeah, what I put down in my notes is like that's why affirmations are so important. I don't know if anybody knows what affirmations are, but they're positive things that you say out loud. So like, you could say like, I'm a millionaire, like I help this many people, I have this goal, like things that you say out loud, goals and beliefs that you
kind of like
want.
looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
I think people probably seen those where they're like, I am beautiful, I am
Yeah,
smart,
exactly.
I am amazing. You know, you say it to yourself every day.
Exactly. Yep. And that's what affirmations are, and it's very, very important to have those affirmations because you might not believe it at first, but saying something out loud so often, and especially saying it out loud, you have when you can say it out loud and then hear it as well, it just helps internalize things better and everything like that. And so it talks about in the book that our word is like a seed. Our words that we say out loud, that's like the seed, and our minds are fertile ground. And the problem is too often, like Sebastianna was saying, is our minds are only fertile for the seeds of fear. It's what we were conditioned when we were little. When your parents, don't blame them. They didn't do it on purpose. That's just the way that they were taught, and they were taught before them, and it's the way that things are done, right? But you're trained through fear. When you do something wrong, what happens? You get punished, right? When you do something right, you get rewarded. And instead of, you learn to be scared of being punished and also scared to not receive the reward. Instead of looking at, oh, I'm excited because I'm doing this stuff right, I'm going to receive a reward, right? For that, you're trained by the way that your parents and just society trains you to fear not getting the reward instead, because we'll do things expecting an award and then you won't get them, and so then you have to do better, but then you're scared and then you might do something wrong, and so then you get beat, right?
Just feel like you're not good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
This is, kind of off, but you can look at it as a different perspective. Is trying to, if like you're unhealthy and maybe you are overweight or you don't like the way that you look, instead of eating right, getting your health back where it needs to be skinny again, do it because you love your body.
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing it to be healthier for yourself, not because you hate the way you look,
Exactly. Too many people go on diets to lose their fat, but we're naturally programmed to find all things that we lose, like Bob Proctor says. It always comes back. Release it. Yeah, and change, morph into a different, better version of yourself. Not better, but different. Better version of yourself. Regardless, if you're growing, you're becoming a better version of yourself every day, right? Our worst fear should be going backwards instead of moving forward, but so many people, from what we're trained, is scary to move forward, stay where you're at because it's safe, right? And that's why me and Robbie would talk about growth happens when you leave your comfort zone. The second you become uncomfortable, like for me, and it still is a little bit, like doing these podcasts, and especially live videos where you guys can see me and you don't just hear voice, right? I feel uncomfortable, and I felt a lot more uncomfortable at first, but now I'm starting to get kind of more comfortable, more into it, talking like you guys are actual human beings and I'm not a robot, right? And I don't know if it's the same for you. You seem like you're doing better than I ever did. But yeah, but I know that that's where the growth kicks in, and if I keep doing it, I'm going to get better. And so that's why we're here. That's why we keep putting them on, no matter how horrendous everything might be, right? And so we all are trained to act on that fear, right? And so our jobs, and that's what the law of attraction really, really is we have to retrain our minds to act on love, right? To view love and happiness instead of fear, sadness, right? Because what you resist persists. I don't know if anybody's ever heard that before, but what you push against, it's always going to come back. So we need to retrain our minds to see love and to see happiness and to see peace. And this was always a hard thing for me. I was doing the law of attraction, right? I was doing visualizations, I was writing in journals, I was trying my best to be positive, but I I wasn't doing things that I loved anymore. I didn't feel like I was worthy to. I felt like I had to be a success first when really, and I've been taught you have to be happy first. So I was being happy, right? On the outside, I was being happy, but I was stuck where I was at, and it was frustrating because I was like, I'm doing everything that I'm told to do, except for I hate my life right now. And so it's just even more frustrating because my dad did it and he is a millionaire now, and now I'm still doing the same things he was doing, but for some reason I'm not getting it all right. And then I just decided, I was like, okay, whatever, I'm done. I dropped it. I'm going to just be happy first because I was sick of not being happy. And so I started doing things I liked again. I started exercising. I was hanging out with friends more. I was going to the gym with friends so I could hang out with friends and things like that. I got a better job that I enjoyed more at the time, right? It was still a job, so eventually I had to move on, and I did. But I started doing things, and the second I started getting happy, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I feel happy. Like, my life's starting to go the way that I am starting to foresee it. And so then I started implementing the law part, right? The work, the mental work, and the physical work, both. And within months of me doing that, because I was happy and I was seeing things, I was genuinely excited. I wasn't pretending to be excited or hoping to be excited. I was generally excited about the future and about the outcome and about my life. And the second I started to visualize bigger and grander things, it was within months. I think it was from 4 months we had moved the state completely. I have an amazing job. It's, what time is it? It's 1:30 on a Thursday, and I'm sitting at home doing a podcast with my beautiful wife, and I stress out inside because I'm used to having to go to work every single day, and I'm like, why, this doesn't feel like work anymore. I have enough money, but for some reason I'm not working 90 hours a week, and that's how my life shifted into that within 4 months, and it was insane. And now I'm happy. I still go through phases where I get down on myself because I believe that there's an equal and opposite reaction on things. For as happy as you are, you have to have the sadness every once in a while, but it's just cutting that out. But that's a whole different topic anyway. But as long as I keep focused on having new goals and generally excited about the future, my life goes amazing. And it's the second that I start putting fear back into the equation, and I'm listening to people's words, right? I'm listening to people talk negative because 99% of the population is negative. That's why 99% of the population is broke, right? And so if I get myself sucked into that, I start to turn back into this fear. And so you have to be very careful with what you say and also what you accepted from other people. It's so important, so important to be impeccable with your word, right?
People need to rewire their brains to act upon love and happiness instead of acting upon fear with things. And one thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like before, when he was talking about how he just felt like he had to pretend to be happy instead of actually being happy for his, affirmations to end up working, was that we heard a lot of stories from very successful people who had very bad stories in the beginning. And, we didn't have a bad story at first when we were together. And I think a lot of it seemed to me, was that he kind of felt like he needed to hit complete rock bottom before we could be successful in anything. He felt like everyone else does it that way, so that means I need to, which it doesn't. What works for one person, it doesn't always mean it's going to work for you. You need to do everything that it's good for you, not good for another person. It's good for you. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we've actually talked about that. I think our last podcast with Kyler and everything, we kind of talked about how I felt like I needed to hit rock bottom first, right? And it's because you heard the stories, or then everybody tells you life is hard. I had a school teacher back in school, his motto was life is hard and then you die. And he preached that to kids, and what is that doing, right? That's running, that's teaching people who are learning from you, and they're more receptive to you because you're a teacher and you got it figured out, right? They look up to you. You're teaching them that life's hard and then you die. Right.
I didn't like school very
much. Awesome.
But so it just, absolutely. And then I get told by coworkers, I would listen to really positive stuff at work when I didn't like having earphones in, or sometimes I couldn't have earphones in because the cords were dangerous. So I would just have my phone playing on my speaker. Positive, my dad's podcast, Mechanic to Millionaire, I'd listen to audiobooks, and my coworkers would be like, what are you listening to? This is that's crazy stuff. Like, that doesn't happen. Like,
it's
whatever.
insane
Don't have
how
dreams,
many
don't have
people
goals.
get so upset about positive people. When people are excited and happy and just positive about life, you know, a lot of people like to become negative Nancy, and they're just like, why are you doing that? Like, that's annoying. That's not real. Like, oh, you're dreaming, you know?
Yeah, and it's just because people, that's what they're conditioned. They're taught to fear things, and people, when you say that, and I'm sorry if I'm like offending anybody, but people are like, what, fear? No, like, I love my life, but like, we don't respond to fear. That's bull crap, right? But if you look at history, like, Hitler made the entire world go into war
By
about fear, about
people with
manipulating
his word.
people by fear with his word. Yeah, exactly. So people, they are responded. I see it every single day. I'm a door-to-door salesman, right? Like, I sell door-to-door, and so many people are so scared. Like, they're terrified. I don't know. It's strange to me how so many people act to fear, and we're there trying to help these people, genuinely help these people, and they're so scared that they don't even have an open mind, and they're the same people that are stuck, or the same people who are trying to, it's because what they've been conditioned, it's what they've been told. Everybody's like, yeah, my friend told me about their cousin's dog who got scammed by some person who's doing the same thing you're doing, and they accepted that, so now everybody's a scammer. So it's like, your beliefs aren't really yours, and it just, you need, I can't even stress that. Your
A lot of
beliefs aren't
people
yours,
have been taught not to succeed.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just because we're conditioned through the media. Turn on the news for 5 minutes and see how you feel after that. Turn it on for 5 minutes and then turn it off and see how your day's changed, because they're conditioning you with fear. The media, Facebook even, like, if you're negative on Facebook, I unfollow you, because I can't have that, because when you're sitting there vegging, you're tired, you're going through Facebook like everybody does, you're so receptive to that negativity. It just, whether or not, like, a lot of it is false and not true, whether or not it is true or false,
you're still reading it.
You're still reading it, it's still internalizing, it's still creating that fear.
One thing is that I saw a lot is when, you know, and I don't blame cities for my unhappiness. I never have, because you can't do that. It's impossible. You know, you're responsible for your own unhappiness if you're unhappy. But I had a lot of people say that when we told them we were moving to California, and they're like, you can't do that. It's so expensive there. It's so this, like, you won't be able to survive. How will you get a job? And it's like, just like how we got a job in St. George, or just how we found a house in St. George. It is the exact same in every place. You're going to be able to do anything that you want. You're going to be able to find a job and a house anywhere you go. And so, you know, I just found that people, you know, and I think that's what people get confused, is they feel stuck there, but it's because no one taught them that it was okay to leave. And, you know, that's one thing I was super grateful for going into Curtis's family, is that they're all about adventure. They're all about, go move to Ireland. Go do it. You go do it, girlfriend. Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah. I've never really been scared to leave home or anything like that. My parents taught me well, but I do have things that affected me from that. I'm not going to get into that. I've gone into it before. But, yeah, absolutely. Evaluate where your thoughts came from. Evaluate what might actually be true and false. Don't take advice from broke, unhappy people, assuming that they're the gurus on the subject, right? I'm not saying I'm a guru or anything like that, but I'm at a point in my life where I feel like I've figured a lot of it out, and my success and my life around me. Yeah, my life around me represents that, absolutely. And so I feel like I have an authority to talk about this kind of stuff, but don't listen to broke, unhappy people. If you're trying to get rich and successful, don't listen to somebody who's poor and homeless, right? So it's like, you need to hang out, be the sum total of the 5 people you hang out with. Choose the right people to hang out with, absolutely. And I know we're kind of going off on a tangent. Is there anything else you want to add?
Not really.
I think we're good. All right. So let us know how you think Sebastianna did. Drop it in the comments. Follow us on Facebook, the Mindset Matters page. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll have the link in the video at the end. Let's blow this thing up, you guys. I love all of you guys. I'm so happy to have Sebastianna here. We'll kind of dig deeper into her. We'll have her give her story, tell more about herself, so that you guys can get a real view of who she is, because she's really an amazing person, and I want you guys to be able to see that. And so we weren't able to do that on this podcast, but we will dig deep into you, and we'll have you hopefully crying on a podcast because everybody needs to cry on camera. Yes. So
All right, thank you
we
guys
love
so
you guys.
much.
All right, thank you. Take care.